Lads, we got to talk about what is one of the funniest trades I've ever seen. One of the actual funniest trades in the history of basketball, period. The Marta Suarez for Flau'jae Johnson trade. The Golden State Valkyries, they pulled an Indiana fever. They traded their first round pick for cap space. They pulled an Indiana fever. They traded a first round pick for cap space. I said this at the time Marta Suarez was not going to make the roster. And by the way, I said this from the very start. I thought Marta Suarez is shit. Like, I need to make this very clear. From my initial thing, I had Marta Suarez in my big board. There were 4 shooters. I had her 4th. There were 4 players that were kind of interchangeable. Marta Suarez, Justine Bassott, Yarden Garzone, and Maggie Dugan. I had, in my defense, I did not have Bassott first, but now I would because it turns out she is actually 6'4", and Garzone's not. We don't see Garzone. I had a Garzone, Bassott, Dugan, Suarez. I had Marta Suarez as a late 3rd round pick, and they traded Flau'jae Johnson for a player that they waived. Flau'jae Johnson's going to be the face of the franchise. This is the worst trade in WNBA history. You have traded a young player who's a huge off the court draw, who would have fit in perfectly in the Bay because of everything she does, who is a great player, who's a fucking dog, who plays with a high motor. Why? Because she doesn't dribble well with her, she doesn't attack well going left, who can shoot, who can create her own shot. I get it. It's going to be very different to Flau'jae's top of the scouting report. But we can have all these conversations about whether or not Flau'jae projects as an all-star and all-WNBA player. I don't know if Marta Suarez is a WNBA player. When she got invited to the green room, what the fuck is going on? Marta Suarez is not good. She's a 6th-year senior who wasn't good till her 6th year. And she couldn't shoot until her 6th year. This is a 1-year shooting streak. Not only that, she's turnover prone, extremely turnover prone, a bad decision maker. This is my villain origin story. The Flau'jae post-draft trade is absolutely confusing at its nicest. Possibly the worst trade in WNBA history if Flau'jae hits her full potential as a player. That Flaw trade, early contender for worst ever. I think there's worse trades in hindsight. In hindsight, there is worse trades. There is worse trades in hindsight, obviously, than this. But at the time, there's no trade that's aged as badly as quickly than this. You gave up, and this is one of those things where it's giving up. The Fever gave up Sanaya Rivers for cap space. And you're oh no, they gave it up for Sophie Cunningham. No, they didn't. I am telling you for a fact. Nalissa Smith, the Fever or the Mercury had to give up Sophie Cunningham's money. To put Nalissa Smith into the trade, Sophie Cunningham would have been there. They gave up the 8th pick so that they didn't take the salary cap hit, which allowed them to give Kelsey Mitchell the Supermax. That is basically what it is. It allowed them to give DeWanna Bonner the max and allowed them to give Kelsey Mitchell the Supermax. Because if they had that number 8 pick, it would not have allowed them to give DeWanna Bonner the max. It would not have allowed them to give Kelsey Mitchell the Supermax. In the end, they made some things, but they basically did it for cap space. That is why the Indiana Fever traded number 8 pick, because there's no fucking way Nalissa Smith, who went for a first round pick, and a first was the cost for Sophie Cunningham. And if Sophie Cunningham's price was 2 firsts, as much as I love Sophie Cunningham, the Fever organization are fucking chumps if they did that. But this is such a bad trade because Flau'jae is so good. Everything about Flau'jae. Flau'jae is exactly who you want in the draft. You want Flau'jae Johnson. It doesn't matter who you are. You want Flau'jae Johnson as a human. And he was saying, but there's all the baggage with her mom. Who cares? Who cares? If you cannot deal with the parents of a player who's and people are talking about Flau'jae's mom she's LeVar Ball. No, she's not. She can be she got on Instagram Live and said Flau'jae will go over all the South Carolina players in the draft. Newsflash, she fucking did. It is what it is. But again, in hindsight, I stand by this. If we're doing a dumb too early redraft, I think you can make Flau'jae probably goes. Miles goes 1. A way too early redraft. It probably goes Miles 1. Number 2, maybe Raven. Number 2, maybe Flau'jae. Number 3, Raven, based on preseason. And you still probably put AZ at 5. Maybe Betts goes 2, I don't know. But it is one of these things where it's like, this trade looked so dumb at the time, and it looks so much worse now. Because and this is why it's so bad, Marta Suarez getting waived is not a surprise to anyone. Nobody should be surprised Marta Suarez got waived. They did not want to draft Flau'jae because by bringing her in to training camp, I'm pretty sure her contract becomes guaranteed for the year. They didn't want to have her guaranteed. But you didn't want to have... Why? Because you wanted to pay Tip Hayes to start Tip Hayes. Fuck it. Like, this is a team... Like, everyone talks about how smart the Valkyries are because they did really well last year. I said it at the time. I was like, in hindsight, getting the 8th seed, yeah, it's cool for the organisation and all, but it's like, why are you trying to quick fix a rebuild? Why are you trying to quick fix this? Your fans were so happy when you got Flau'jae. Flau'jae was shocked because he didn't even interview her. And then suddenly Seattle have the best young core in the league with Flau'jae Johnson, Awafam, and Dominique Malonga. There's a world where before hitting 22, Dominique Malonga and Awafam are all-stars, and Flau'jae is going to be an all-star this year. There's a world where 20-year-old Dom Malonga and 22-year-old Flau'jae Johnson are all-stars this year. There is a world where that happens. As a rookie, and Marta Suarez might never play a WNBA game. She probably will. I think she goes back to Europe, and if she starts doing okay, she's not going to play in Rio. She's not going to play in Project B. She's going to earn her way up through EuroLeague. Because I'm sorry, that TCU season was fake. It was fake. I said at the time, it was fake. People were saying, oh, Marta Suarez should go to the Fever at 10. I was like, man, if the Fever draft Marta Suarez, end the organisation right now. People were like, oh, they need to stretch forward. I'm like, man, she fucking stinks. And by the way, if you guys are talking, like, you don't even see my tweets. If you guys think that I'm saying, oh yeah, Passat is the answer right now, stretch forward. No, she's not. I think the Indiana Fever would be dumbasses to lose the potential of Passat. But I don't think Passat is ready right now. But Marta Suarez was the most fake college season ever. She was a 6th-year senior. It was like Sarah Ashley Barker, where I was like, this is a fake season, where she had a fake NCAA tournament game, which they lost, and she went up 9. You don't make decisions based on how someone plays in their 6th-year senior season. But, yeah, in a surprise to nobody, she got waived. They literally traded a potential face of their franchise, because the Valks don't have a face. Kate Martin's their most marketable player. They don't have a face. They traded the current face of their fucking franchise. One of the most highest value team. All the right stuff off the court. I'm sorry, they traded the face of their franchise for cap space to try to outsmart teams. Fire the fucking GM on the spot. I don't care. People are like, oh, don't fire the GM. Like, it's so hard for, female GMs to get a job. It's like, well, this trade doesn't make it any easier. At the end of the day, someone's ability for a job is completely irrespective of gender. It is completely wrong that there are teams that hire coaches, GMs, anything based on gender, race, all this stuff. That's fucking bullshit. That being said, the Valkyries GM, fire her on the spot. Yes, she hit it out of the park in the expansion draft because teams were dumb enough to leave all their stashes unprotected. That is a once-in-a-lifetime situation. Teams were dumb enough to leave their stashes unprotected. Nakasi is a good coach, but holy shit, this is a fireable offence.